Episode 154, Finding Your Life Purpose, Layering Personality Types, and the 6 Purposes We All Have. In this episode, it's a good one. We talk about purpose, finding your purpose specific to you, where you can best use your talents for the sake of the ummah, for making money in your career, in your side project, in your side business, whatever it is. And we go really in deep with my partner, my business partner, Faisal, who is really focused and specialized in this area. So he gives a lot of analogies, a lot of stories, and it's really gonna be enjoyable for you, inshallah. Check it out. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to episode of 154 of Heist, and today I'm joined by Faisal. Assalamu alaikum, Faisal.
Salam.
Faisal, how do you introduce yourself these days?
So I didn't know you were going to ask me that. No. Well, obviously I'm your business partner. I'm Muslim CEO. I'm also the founder of No, and my lifelong mission is to help people to discover their purpose and find their potential. No, not fulfill their potential. Oh. Find the purpose and fulfill their potential. I got that alliteration there as well.
So I see you've brought us to the topic of today in a very smooth manner, mashallah. So you know how you're focused on purpose, right? Helping people find their purpose. I want to ask you, what is purpose beyond, like, if I'm Muslim and I know I've got to worship Allah, is that my purpose, or is purpose something more specific than that? Or because you're mainly like helping Muslims, right? So they already know their purpose, surely.
Okay, why is it?
To worship Allah.
Okay, so why aren't we all doing it if we all know the answer?
Why are we not doing it? Maybe we lack the knowledge, we lack the taqwa, that we don't do enough worship, and therefore Allah doesn't grant us that kind of hidayah, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting. So what I tried to do, when doing this, first of all, the main challenge I had, right, was how do you tackle this topic from an Islamic perspective? Because everything that's out there is all self-help and all that kind of stuff, but we need to understand this from an Islamic perspective. So there's a few ways of looking at it. So first of all, I did. I won't digress. Let me answer your question first. So you're saying that what is purpose? So a lot of my research and everything that I've put together, I went and spoke to a scholar just to show him that the framework I put together and everything, and he looked at it and he said, "Oh, you know what? It's really, really good because." It's basically he goes that look, the story that everyone knows is I've created man and jinn to worship me, and that is. But what we often forget is the story of purpose in the Quran is Hazrat Adam's story. The Hazrat Adam, when Allah created him, and the angel said to him, "Oh, why have you created him? We're here, we glorify you and we praise you, and you've created someone who's going to get bloodshed and mischief." And Allah said, "Well, I know what you know not."
Yes.
Next ayat. And then he went and taught them in the name of all things. And then he went and asked the angels, "Okay, right now you tell me the name of these things if you're truthful." And then they said, "Oh, no, we can't." And then they bowed down, right? So that's the story. And so what was interesting is that Allah distinguished Adam from the angels through knowledge and being this person who had kind of actualized his potential, basically, right? And so what was interesting, so that was the kind of the story of purpose in the Quran. And so what the scholar said to me, he goes, so what the whole thing about I've created man and jinn to worship me, that is what Allah expects from every human. But what Allah loves is that same scenario, that Allah was proud to show his creation to the angels, because and so what Allah loves is the human that has actualized his potential. That's why the prophets are the beloved to him. That's so the point of it is for us to figure out who we are and what service we're here to deliver for Allah. Because if we don't fulfill our purpose, no one else can actually fulfill that for us. So no one else, so it basically means that there's a U-shaped hole in the atmosphere, and if like generations go by that people don't fulfill that purpose, well, that's how you get the ummah that's in the doldrums that we are today.
I see.
Yeah. So basically, so what it is, so essentially what we're saying here is that our purpose is not just to worship,
Yeah.
but it's to fully actualize ourselves as in terms of what Allah's given us. And so that's why the way I do it is that we actually have multiple purposes. So for example, worship is obviously the first one that we
Baseline foundation.
The foundation, yeah, that's that. And why? But again, let's go deeper. Why do we talk to worship? Because worship nourishes our core entity. Our core entity is that we're a spirit, we're a rule, we're a soul, right? That's what worship actually does. The next aspect is that in terms of purpose, our purpose is to be unified. So half of the deen is ibadah, half the deen is muamalat, right? And the hadith about souls are like soldiers, they unite, and so unity is in our fitrah, and we have to. It's obligatory for us to return our salam. And the point of it is that unity is so stressed upon, brotherhood is so stressed upon. Why? And so even in the last sermon, it's mentioned. It's Luqman's advice. Basically, it's mentioned everywhere, right? So that so that's the second purpose that we have, to be unified. The third purpose is to what I've called it, justice and jihad. So justice and jihad, because what justice is putting the order in place, right? So balance and order, and jihad is the struggle to ensure that you do that. So essentially, this is enjoining the good, forbidding the evil.
Yeah.
So what this is about is truth. So because imagine now you're someone in your journey of being self-actualized, you're doing your imagine if your compass is facing the wrong direction, then there's no point in all this. So what this justice and jihad does, it puts you in the right direction, right? So that's that. The fourth purpose that we have is being like the beloved, which is what that to become like the beloved, which is the prophets, and becoming like like nature and stuff, is to be resilient, right? So that's the fourth purpose, to be resilient. The fifth purpose is seeking knowledge, and then the sixth purpose is to serve the ummah, so add value, right? So what's interesting is that when you add these on top of each other, so the first one is worship, which nourishes the soul. What unity does, it nourishes the body, because what we humans need is relationships.
Yeah.
Remember the Harvard study? Harvard study about what
longitudinal study.
Longitudinal. So what makes them happy is relationships.
Yeah.
Right. So that's that aspect. Then the third aspect of it is the truth, which keeps them on the right track. The fourth aspect is resilience and growth, because that polishes the diamond. Without that, then seeking knowledge, because then that is what then grows us to be able to do our service,
like
justice.
Flourishing and so. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And the service is then us adding value to our fellow man, right? And all of this stuff it gets us to self-actualization, basically. So that is all. So the purpose, as in fulfilling our potential, is a thread that binds all these purposes together.
And is it in that order? Are you saying like we should do it in that order?
It's in that order, yeah.
So like, where am I in that?
No. What
where
this means. Let me tell you how that means. No.
Yeah.
So this is all of these things are things that we should be doing. The point of it is, because remember, if you understand purpose, that means that nothing in your life is meaningless. Because that is, I remember there's a book, famous book, Man's Search for Meaning.
Yeah.
Right. And it basically is something that I just to give you one small anecdote from that book. What he talks about is, he talks about this concept called logotherapy, right? Where he says that a man came to visit him. He was a psychotherapist or whatever, and he was basically broken. He just said, "Oh God, I've lost my wife. My wife's just passed away." How you go? When did she pass away? About 6 months ago. He go, "Oh, no, I can't function. I'm all over the place." So then he said, "Okay, you know what? Let's imagine this." He goes, "What would happen if your wife was here, not you? What would happen then?" And you go, "Oh no, to be honest, she would handle it even worse than I would." He goes, "So maybe that's why she went first." And he goes, and literally, like a breakthrough moment. He just put his hat on, put his coat on, shook his hand, walked out. Meaning that the point of it is that mic drop. Yeah, literally, the point of it is that all he needed was some meaning for that pain he was going through. It's that whole quote, meaning. Yeah. He who has a why can withstand any how. That is it. I think Nietzsche or someone said that. And so that's the point, that with these 6 purposes, it gives us that context, or gives us perspective for every single situation that happens in our life. So, for example, you're having beef with someone, or you're going out with someone. Oh, you know what? Our purpose is unity. You know what? Yeah, we need to keep the ties.
And you have
You
that
know what?
reason to sacrifice your ego.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, you know what? I'm really struggling. I had a really bad day. Oh, you know what? Resilience. Be like the beloved. Resilience. It keeps you going, because you know what? My purpose is to fulfill my potential. This is part of it. This is part of it. This is part of it.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So this all gives you that, and the point is that these 6 are like universal. Like, everyone in their life will they'll be relevant to them overall.
Yeah. What do you mean by that? It'll be relevant?
No. One point is that at some point in their life, they'll come across an incident where they have to, like, for example, even worship. It doesn't just necessarily mean on the prayer mat. Worship can also be. I mean, like, worship. And this is where, when we go deeper into it, when you start understanding yourself, you might be predisposed to really enjoying a certain type of worship, and you might be weak in a certain type of worship, and so again, you can then start like doubling down on what you're good at, or until so even from in terms of areas to improve and grow on. You can do this because now you've got a framework to be able to live your life by.
Yeah. And I always remember that, like, why was, for example, the Prophet ﷺ, he was so resilient? It's because, let's say, you know, the challenge is, when the challenge is so big, the challenge is in front of you so big, right? But if your goal, or your reason, your purpose in this case, is so big that you're looking up at it, it's so tall, if you like, you're looking up at it, you don't see the challenge in front of you because you're looking like there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the size of your purpose determines the size of the challenge you can overcome.
Yeah, exactly. And what happens is that, you know, when you've got this thing, this cause that's bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
Even if you're like struggling, you know what? Like, okay, you know what? I'm not, for yourself, you wouldn't do it. If it was just down to you, because your body, the survival mode, is going to be on and out. Look, you're too tired. You're too no. For the purpose, for the cause, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like I just want to give the example of imagine if I said to you, oh, can you lift that car outside? Oh no, come on, bro, I can't do it. But I said, imagine if a kid was under there. Imagine your kid was under there.
Wow.
You're going to do whatever it takes. You're going to knock on every door. You're going to find a way to lift that car.
Yeah.
Even if it's impossible.
Yeah. It's like what we were saying on the coaching call yesterday to the one guy. I was like, even if you can't help people with that thing, if you are truly passionate about helping that group of people, you need to become that guy. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
And that's the purpose thing, right? It's like they need me, right?
Yeah.
And also it's like taking that responsibility to say, you know, a lot of people, they say, like, not me, right? But if it's not you, then who, right? Yeah. If you won't do it, no one will do it, because everyone will say what you're saying. And so that's, I guess that's when the leaders stand up and they say, well, like, I'll do it. Like, proactivity, isn't it?
Yeah, but again, it's even better when you are convinced that what you've chosen as your mission is the one that Allah created for you. That is your mission, because everything. Because then it's like, you know what, this is. Am I going to say no to Allah? No, you're not. You're going to do whatever it takes.
And then also you have deeper.
And when you struggle, you're going to say, you know what, Allah's got the power to do everything. You know, I have to struggle. I need to want my learning from this. You're gonna basically you will get instant growth mindset. You know what I mean? So it's very, very powerful. You know, one more thing I just wanted to share was there's a hadith, right, which says what does it say? It says something like my companions are like the stars. My companions are like the stars, and so you can look at any one of them and they'll guide you or something like that, right? And so I thought, okay, that's quite an interesting hadith. And then there's another hadith which is like, my ummah is like the rain. I do not know which shower is the best, the first or the last. And so that's quite interesting. So what that tells us that there is going to be a shower of people, or at the end of the ummah, who are comparable with the first, because we know that this first, the Sahaba, were people who literally from the ground up. Like they were just Bedouins and they literally changed the world, right? So if you look at both of these things, and if we want to adopt that kind of thing for today, you kind of reverse engineer. We think, okay, what transformation did they go through to become who they became?
Yeah.
Right. And so when I looked into that, I realized that, so first of all, obviously the first transformation was when the Quran was revealed. They got belief and they got vision. Like, okay, look, this is now the future, and and faith in Allah and stuff like that. And then the 13 years of Makkah, what did they learn? It was essentially their purpose. That was really, it was just setting the foundations, and that difficulty and that struggle and resilience, and that's really what they learned in Makkah, and unlearning all the Jahiliyyah stuff, right? All the past. So brilliant. So again, when you're looking at self-actualization for us guys today, we almost need to go on a similar journey where we need to understand our vision. Our vision is to become that last shower, right? And then first of all, so we need to have a vision towards that, and then the next thing we need to do is we need to understand our purpose and our position within that, and then unlearn some of this stuff that nonsense from that we are currently holding, and then we can go on to the next stage, But that's why I just feel that purpose in that context, with those examples, is really, really strong, because again, who else example should we follow?
Yeah. And what comes to mind is when the Sahaba, they came to the Prophet ﷺ, when they were in Mecca still, and I think that was when they were being boycotted and stuff, and they went to the Prophet ﷺ and said, will you not make dua for us for help, for victory? You know this story, yeah?
Yeah.
It was actually Khabbab who went to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ said, there were people that came before you, and their skin was combed off, their flesh was combed off them, they were cut in two, and they didn't give up their religion. And then he said, وَلَكِنَّكُمْ تَسْتَعْجِلُونَ, but you're too hasty. And so that made me think, like, if you have the vision as well, you can be more patient as well, can't you?
Absolutely.
And that's what he was trying to give.
Without vision, it's difficult. Without vision, looking at your purpose and stuff, because then your purpose will become something, just Jannah, and even though we all want Jannah's was I think after the first surah was revealed, Iqra, the second surah was Al-Qalam, and that talks a lot about Jannah and Jahannam. So again, interestingly, it talks again what our aims are is kind of set out, but Jannah is, because it's abstract, we can't picture it and stuff. That's something that we could sometimes struggle with. That's why having that vision is really, really important about what we want to get to, and this is where you understanding your personal purpose is really important. And that, so what I just said to you with that, the understanding your potential, that's the macro, and then the micro of it is actually you understanding what that means for yourself.
Okay, so how do we? So these 6 purposes, you're saying that it's not actually like one after the other. It's more like we'll just encounter different scenarios where we need to use the knowledge of our purpose in that area.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the point. Yeah. So basically, the point of that is that we don't have to have one purpose. We have 6 purposes, and thinking of it that way can help you whenever that encounter comes where you break ties, or where you are struggling or whatever.
And where did the 6 come from?
But a lot, again, this is like 40-50 books. This is what I call, this is like a lot of research that I've kind of synthesized together.
Okay.
And I've put it together into like a coherent framework.
So if we get like kind of a summary of a lot of the things that the Prophet ﷺ was encouraging, or the Quran was encouraging, you can kind of narrow it down to those 6 areas. Okay. So one thing you said, which I'm trying to work out in my head, is like to know the specific purpose Allah had for you. Yeah. Like now, like me, like I'm trying to focus on helping Muslim men, right? Reclaim their place, understand their place, and blah, 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 right? Build better Muslim families and all that. I can't say with conviction, like, this is what Allah made me for. Like, maybe Allah made me for it in the sense that it's my qadr, that I'm working on it now. But how can I have that much certainty?
It's a good question. So a lot of this stuff, right? So first of all, again, remember the Prophet, he was age of 40 when he was given his mission.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are sometimes scrambling, oh, but I don't know what I'm here to do and all that kind of stuff. But this is the point of everything joining up. No one incident that you've gone through is meaningless, because this is where you have to take the good from every situation. Okay, you know what, I had struggled here, but what maybe a lesson that you learn there will help you later on, right? So that's the first thing, is that you don't fruit doesn't grow before it's ripe, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same kind of concept here. The second thing is that how you discover this thing is you really have to go deep into yourself and kind of figure out. The way I liken it to, right, is like a treasure map. So imagine a treasure map, and X marks a spot. So X is your purpose, right? The one that God created you for. Now, most people go through life, they don't even know there's a map.
Okay.
Let alone treasure.
Yeah.
Right. Then eventually some people think, oh yeah, you know what, I need to start becoming more fulfilled in what I do, and how they want to put more aligned to their purpose. Then okay, fine, but they now know that there's treasure, but they've got no idea where X is. And so what they're doing, they're just digging in random places and stuff. And so the normal approach to this can be, oh, you know what, let me just try as many things as possible, and eventually I might just stumble upon it, right? That's how people could do it. But what is better is to go through a process of like truly understanding yourself, because again, you have to remember, Allah made everything, and everything He made is for a purpose, and so that means He's made us for a very specific purpose as well. So the example that I give, right, I said that, look, when you let's say this thing, if you could say, what is it created like, if you didn't know what it was, let's say it was some random tool or whatever, you didn't know what it was, how would you figure it out? So what you would do, you'd say, okay, you know what, is this an instruction manual or something, let me have a look at that. Or you might say, okay, you know what, who's the inventor of this, let me speak to him. Or if those two things weren't available, alhamdulillah for us it is available, because our inventor is Allah, and He's told us about it, and also our instruction manual is the Quran, right? But the other thing that you might do is that, okay, you know what, let me look at what it's made up of. Let me, okay, you know what, it's got this thing here, or it's got a blade here at the bottom, it's got this. You could basically make what it's made up of,
deconstruct
it basically, yeah. And so and that's the same thing I would say for us. So we can do that at a holistic level, as in a macro level, which is, okay, what's the human created for? This is, and deconstructing the human is also how I came across. I did that 6 framework thing.
Yeah.
But then we can do the same for ourselves. Okay, let's deconstruct ourselves now and figure this stuff out. So yeah. So do you want to do it?
Yeah, sure. But are you saying though, bro? Like, are you saying that? But what you're saying is you can go through a discovery process to find your specific purpose, but we're not going to get like wahi that this is like Allah's.
No, it's not 100%. It's not 100%.
Yeah.
But what you find
is
like a lot of this stuff starts making sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh God, no wonder. Oh, you know what? It's like you start getting warmer and warmer towards something.
I see that. Yeah. Another question is, would you say this applies to like everyone, right? Because maybe my purpose is just to be a source of rizq for my family and worship Allah. And, I hold my tongue when my neighbor said this and that to me. And then I die and go in Jannah. Like maybe, many people, they live a simple life. They don't have a grand thing,
Yeah, but again, you don't have to have a grand thing.
Would that still be a purpose that they're fulfilling? Or?
Yeah, I look, to give you an example, is that think about the golden age. I talk about that. Think about the golden age. So obviously in the golden age, there were people who were not Muslim.
Yeah.
Now, if our purpose was purely, I've created man and jinn to worship me, so are they living unpurposeful lives? How did they contribute to the harmony?
They had
a purpose. I've created Muslims and jinn. I have created man and jinn to worship me, right? So
they had a purpose in the dunya. I guess they were just what's the word? deficient in their purpose in that sense.
Yeah.
Because
So
yeah, like you said, even a you know, a dog and a cat, and they all have purpose because Allah allows certain things to happen through their existence and their actions, right?
yeah, for example, if one certain thing didn't exist, the ecosystem could collapse. Like
Yes.
bees didn't
Yes.
exist,
Yeah.
we wouldn't exist. So
Yeah.
a lot. So, but the point, the reason for saying that is that how they reconciled that stuff back then was that their purpose was. It was called, I forget the Arabic for it actually, but ultimately it was like cultivation. It was basically service and adding value to something, right? So whatever, again, it might be that the purpose doesn't have to be this grand thing. It doesn't have to be, oh yeah, I'm going to change the world and do this and do that.
Okay.
It can be very simple. It could be that, you know what, your purpose is to, you know, help. Yeah, it could be just help. You know, for example, it could be raise amazing children who add value to the ummah. That could be your purpose, and that's a huge purpose. If you do that, that's a huge purpose.
Yeah.
It could be, you know what, is to, I don't know.
I mean, some of these people, bro, some people, like, for example, the cleaners in the haram or a random masjid, like, they're really good at that, and they do it with ihsan, and they do it with a smile on their face, and they make the people feel welcome and all that.
And bro, they are living purposeful lives because they know their long-term aim. Okay, you know what, is to go to Jannah. Well, that they're playing the long game, and obviously they people, a lot of people, again, what I'd say about purpose thing is that in this day and age, it's sad that purpose has become a bit of a privilege thing. Oh well, why you think about purpose, right? You know, people, like, that's why I put food on the table first.
Yeah.
Right? You know, in the East or in the third world, they might not even be able to think about that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, but this is a human right. This is every single human should be thinking about their purpose, you know, in terms of how because this is what connects you to the Lord, right? And so it's just because of society has kind of done it that way, and it's kind of this is going back to that story about Hazrat Adam, and after, obviously Iblis was told to bow down, and obviously he didn't, and then he became mankind's enemy thereafter. So and he was like, okay, I'm going to basically, obviously, he said, I'm going to take mankind away from its purpose. That's exactly what he said. I'm going to take mankind away from its purpose. So ultimately, with the world that we live in, everything's been set up to take us away from it, and that's why even these questions like, oh, you know, but surely for me, I should just focus on earning money or doing this and doing that. Well, no, we shouldn't. It should be central to how we think. The purpose is it should be really, really central. It's just because the way that the satanic world has kind of set the systems up is, unfortunately, we're seeing it. We only think of it as a privilege, whereas it should be fundamental. You know, when you look at the child, we ask the child, "Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up?"
Yeah.
Again, it's all we look at it from a job or career perspective, as opposed to be, you know,
what cog in the machine would you like to be?
Exactly. we kind of plant that seed early. Whereas how it was always done was that they, like plants, they cultivate. So one plant gives shade and one plant
gives
heals
fruit.
and gives fruit and stuff. So it's like nurturing, and that's why they studied under a teacher for a long time, because the teacher's job was to understand, okay, what type of plant is this child? What is he going to benefit the world in? And so the teacher's job was to nurture this purpose, basically.
So, okay, let's go through this process you're going to take me through.
Sure. So the first thing is that there's a hadith, right? The hadith is people are like metals, like gold and silver, and the best of them in Jahiliyyah are going to be the best of them after knowledge
in
or
Islam.
after in Islam, basically. Yeah. And so what I find quite interesting about that was how the comparison to metals. Yeah. So let me talk to you a little bit about that 1 second. So yeah, with the so have you heard of so the commentary of the hadith, I looked into the commentary of that hadith, right? It was very, very interesting. What it was saying was like why. So it says that look. So basically, by likening people to metal, it indicates many things. So the first is that people are different in character, morals, and mental qualities, and so this is understood from the reference to the difference between metals. He also indicates that people are different in accepting reform. Some of them are easy, some of them need patience, some of them are impervious to it. Furthermore, the reference to metal shows that people are different in respect to being noble and ignoble, just as metal is different in quality. Some are expensive like gold and silver, and others are cheap like iron and tin. And likewise, the reference to metal indicates endurance. Right. So that's the first, like the first thing I just want to say is that humans have been compared to metals, right?
Yeah.
And so just taking that's one step further is have you heard of there's something called the spark test?
Okay.
So something that engineers do. I don't know if you want to Google it or anything like that. So what it is essentially is that if you look at a when you're one of those, what they're called, those grindstones or whatever, axles. Yeah, how you sharpen metal or whatever.
Yeah.
So basically, what the spark test is that every single piece of metal, the spark it gives off is different.
Okay.
Right. So the spark it gives off, like a spark, I don't know, an iron gives off is different to what gold gives off. Some of them have long tails, some of them are very short, some of them are gold, some of them are silver. Yeah, it's very interesting, right? Yeah. So what I've put together is this test, well, not a test, this kind of framework called the spark framework.
Okay.
And again, where it also comes from is Allama Iqbal quote, which is, be aware of your own worth, use all of your power to achieve it. Create an ocean from a dewdrop. Do not beg for light from the moon. Obtain it from the spark within you. Right? So again, he talked about everyone's got this spark, basically. Right? So anyway, with that in mind, then, so what the spark refers to is just to give you another analogy here. We talk to in business, we do the three USPs.
Yes.
Why do we do that?
Because if you find three things that you're unique in, it's unlikely that anyone will be like you in all three of those ways.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the point of this framework, that you understanding yourself across different areas, it shows you how unique, firstly, that you are, the gift that you've been given.
Yeah.
And basically you can then see trends and patterns for you can then like work some of this stuff out for yourself. So the S, so spark, the S stands for spirit. Yeah. So spirit. So with like obviously you think about, if our ultimate purpose is to obviously worship Allah, and that means that Allah surely will have given us tools to be able to achieve that worship, right? So what spirits really stands for is, what's our core method of seeking Allah, right? Or drawing closer. What's our key method of nourishing our soul? So we've already got things in place already. We've got the 5 prayers and fasting and all these things. So these are all obviously in place already. Yeah. But obviously we all have something that we're naturally good at and naturally inclined to. Yeah. So the best way of working this out is obviously there's obviously questions and stuff that you can answer about just introspection. Okay, when am I most at my peak in terms of my worship, and when do I just get lost in this stuff, for example? But then another way of looking at it is, did you hear of the spiritual personality test?
I heard of it, yeah, but I haven't done it.
Yeah. So basically, that essentially it's called the spiritual personality. Is it tells you exactly this. What is the area that you're able to like worship and serve the best.
So can I try and do it for real with you? This whole spark test?
I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah, you can.
But it's better to do it. Take your time with it, but
take your
we'll
time.
have a go.
For the yaqeen thing, for example, you might take. I mean, everyone who's watching it, for example, they could pause it, for example, and do the test, and they could do that. That would be a problem.
Yeah.
But because that takes about 15 minutes to do, so you might not get the results straight away. But what that comes across, so how that test works is you answer all these questions. It's a little bit like the Myers-Briggs one that we did last time.
Okay.
But this is like the kind of the Islamic version of it. And so ultimately it comes down to there's 4 like branches. You can fit into any one of these four.
Okay.
And what they are is you're either the hand of power,
Okay.
you're the voice of justice,
Yeah.
you're the heart of inspiration, or
Yeah.
you're the eye of vigilance. Right.
Okay.
So the hand of power, for example.
Are these so these are the four results you can get when you do the Yaqeen personality test? Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So the hand of power, for example, the hand of power is all about I am fueled by a passion to change the world. Right. So
Yes.
this is a person who has got big dreams and big visions, and they're going to take steps to make a positive difference.
Yeah.
So the example that they give from the Khulafa is Hazrat Ali. That was his kind of mindset.
Okay.
Then you have voice of justice. Right? So this is and his statement is, "I am every tyrant's worst nightmare." So obviously his thing is outspoken individuals devoted to campaigning for the rights of others, speaking truth to power, forbidding oppression, whether it's outside or within themselves. So obviously that's like Hazrat Umar.
Yeah.
Then you have the heart of inspiration, and this is where I see a future worth striving for.
Okay.
Right? So this is a visionary. This is the person who has deep insight, and they're imagining a better world, and they're like inspiring others. They're like managers, you could say. They're inspiring others to work toward a common goal. And so this is Hazrat Abu Bakr.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have the eye of vigilance. So this is about experiencing restraint. So this is where I heed the danger lurking beyond us. And this is a wise and mindful soul who worries about the harmful trends in the world and the consequences of negligence.
Yeah.
This is Hazrat Usman.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like your spiritual personality is the praying one, the fasting one.
No. This is more like
This is more actually. This sounds like it's more in relation to how you relate to society, how you conduct yourself in society, rather than within yourself, right?
Yeah. But I mean, what I would say is that to understand the spirit side of it, like the Yaqeen thing is a very good starting point. Yeah. Because that allows you to say, okay, you know, I'm someone who likes speaking for justice and this and that.
Yeah.
What you might find, and we're going to go on to the later, is that some of that stuff might actually be linked to who you are as in temperament wise.
Yeah.
What do you call it? But you being someone who is a good speaker, for example, and wanting to create, you might think, okay, you know what, I'm someone who wants to be a student of knowledge and so I can share it with others, etc. You might find that there's alignment in that.
Yeah. So which one do you think I am?
I would say that you're Hazrat Usman ibn Affan. So you're like the wise and mindful soul who worry about the harmful trends in the world and the consequence of negligence. So you're like, there's danger around us and we need to be, heed ourselves.
I thought the same thing before you even described it, because just when you say vigilance, I'm like, yeah, I'm that risk averse guy.
Yeah. What am I, do you think?
Oh, you're definitely the visionary one.
Yeah. So for me, I'm either visionary, the Abu Bakr one, or Hazrat Ali one, which is both. Well, that's down to about changing the world.
Yes.
So one's about this. Yeah. So for me, I saw a bit of a middle between those two.
Yeah.
So that's the S side of it.
Yeah.
And obviously the thing is that when I go into this in the program, there's loads of like prompts and questions I ask to really get this stuff out of you.
Okay. Yeah.
So then the next one is personality.
Yeah.
Right? So obviously this is the stuff we did last time where we talked about the 16 personalities, Myers-Briggs, and that MBTI one.
Yeah.
And so do you remember which one you are?
I think I'm INTJ.
Okay.
Let me just try and find it in my inbox. Personalities.
Yeah.
But that would make sense, right? Like if that was mine, right?
Yeah, I think it would. So let me. So what I'm INFJ, right? But so how this stuff works? So what the I?
Yeah. E or I?
For,
yeah.
E or I? Yeah. So what that stands for is how do you get your energy? There's the N, and then there's an S. So how do you take in information?
Okay.
So for example, the I and the E. So just to start again. How you get energy? You either get it from being alone, which means that you're introverted, or you get it from being with people, which is extroverted. Yeah. Then the N and the S is how do you take in information? So if you're N, you take in information via patterns and impressions and abstract. Whereas if you're S, you take information via the five senses, so touch, taste, smell, etc. right?
Okay, yeah.
Then F and T is how you make decisions. So the F is you make decisions based on how you feel, and T is you make decisions based on logic. So that's where me and you differed. For example, I did it on feelings, you did it on logic. And a P and J is your preferred lifestyle. So P is you prefer to let things play out by themselves, and J means you prefer to have controls and plans.
Okay, so 100% Muhammad Akhi tweet would be P. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's like the main thing we always find that we're different on. Is
Okay, interesting.
like in the last episode, I said you're the what did I say? You're like the spontaneous guy, like the kind of creative kind of thing, and I'm like the architect, like plan.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, interesting. And so what's it called? Yeah, so and what's interesting is that when you do, especially when you do it on that 16 personalities website, it's really good because their descriptions are really, really good, and they explain what does it mean in relation to your work, what does it mean in relation to your relationships, etc., etc. And I found that it's one of the most accurate ones I've read personally. And so my overall thing is called an advocate. So again, the theme here again, changing the world, wanting to change the world, wanting to do good work, etc., etc. So for me, already just with the first two, I'm starting to see a trend. Do you understand?
Yeah. And then when you layer this, I understand you get a clearer and clearer picture of who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it starts with 1D, then 2D, then 3D, then like a 5D image of yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just looking at this face. I've got this email from 7 years ago. Apparently 7 years ago, I was ESTJ.
Interesting.
Which is quite different.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah.
So I mean, E just you're extroverted then. You S. You were sensor.
No, I'm N now. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and then T. Yeah, the T.
TJ is the same now, I think. Yeah.
Okay, great. So that's that. Then we have abilities. So abilities is just what are you naturally talented at. So this is, everyone knows or tends to know, okay, you know what, I'm naturally quite good at this. Or, for me, it might be writing or product development or something like that, or creativity or whatever. I kind of see myself naturally good at it. And the main question I ask around this is, what do you do best, easiest? What do you do best, easiest?
Yeah. What is that for me?
For you, it literally be just speaking. Yeah, literally getting on the mic and speaking. You can freestyle. You can do that really well.
Yeah, makes sense. I think it's because my mum got me reading a lot.
Yeah,
when I was a kid. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that. Do
you find that people struggle to answer that, even like to say something positive about themselves with so much certainty?
Initially, I think everyone is within themselves initially, but this is where when you start going deeper and deeper and stuff, because sometimes people can't think about it, and then how you sometimes you do this is you ask them questions. Okay, like what do people come to you for? Like for example, with me, people used to come to me even as a kid. Oh, can you just do my CV for me? Oh, can you just write this letter for me? You know what I mean? Like so a lot of this stuff is about the prompts. How do you get asked this question? That prompts you to then write it out.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes.
So that's that. And again, with some of this, like let's say now we're layering some of this stuff down, and one of the things that you really, really want to do is you want to be a nasheed artist or something. I don't know. I think that's something you really want to do.
Yeah, with my boy band hat on.
Yeah, exactly. But you haven't been given the ability. Let's say you haven't got a good voice.
Yeah.
Then it just shows you that that's not really for you. Even if it's what you really want, you're passionate about it. You haven't been given the ability.
Yeah.
So that's not really what you've been designed for.
Yeah. So in the the whole Cal Newport, so good they can't ignore you. Yeah. In that book, he basically says, don't do what you're passionate about, do what you're good at. Yeah. So what are you saying, that you take that basically viewpoint?
No. I would say that you do that,
or both,
and you layer it again. You layer it further.
Okay.
Because that actually takes me on nicely to the next one, which is R, which is relish. So what do you relish? And this is passion, enthusiasm, desire, energy, basically. So again, how do you discover this stuff? It might be what do you do when you lose track of time? When do you feel like fully alive? What would you do on a Saturday morning, just when you just start to alone? It could be looking at your YouTube history. This is about your interests.
Yes.
What's the last 5 books that you read? What are you spending your money on?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So for me, I realized, Faisal, I love making content. I think because I've been making YouTube videos recently, and like when I'm doing that, I really like it. Even like, for example, writing, I find a bit of a drag, but if I'm writing a script for a video, it makes it easier because it's like a video in the end, right? And the podcast as well, I enjoy that. But that's kind of too similar maybe to what I said before, is like I'm good at speaking. Is it not? Or
no, it's not, because then it's actually even more. It actually you're doubling down on it, because it's like you're good at it, and you love it.
Yes. Okay.
So again, it's pointing you in the right direction. Again, same with me. Like I'm good at writing, but I actually really enjoy it. And often these two are always going to be kind of be linked.
Yeah.
Because naturally, when you're good at something, you become passionate about it because it's giving you growth, it's giving you praise in the past. So you naturally start to like it. Where this stuff really helps people is that some people haven't really discovered what they're good at. They go through life and they're just like cruising through, or they never really found it. And so it's really good for them. Or some people are like, I'm not really interested in anything. Because they've just been living in their phone for their life, and they never really had any interests.
Half their brain has been left in TikTok server, and half is in their head.
That's it.
I was thinking, Faisal, like since doing business, right, and getting into the ads and like the whole spreadsheets and this and that, I feel like I kind of quote unquote should have been an engineer. Yeah.
Interesting.
I think like an engineer, right? Would you agree with that? Yeah.
I agree with that.
I think like an engineer, but I'm very bad at maths. Okay. So like I would never have like gone to uni for that, because I really was really bad at maths. I didn't do maths in A levels. I could no way could I have done it, right? Like in GCSE I got
I would say that's a story, by the way, that you've been telling yourself.
I mean, yes, perhaps. But the thing is, realistically, if I got C in maths at GCSE level, like I couldn't even do maths in A level, even if I wanted to, right? Like you can't do it. I was considering doing core maths. You can do foundation or core, whatever it's called. But I went for the normal one, the higher one, just to kind of challenge myself, and I got the C. So alhamdulillah. But so what that made me think is, okay, I should have been a software engineer, because there's like less maths in that.
Yeah, potentially. But what's quite interesting about you is that you're someone who, that's why you're quite holistic. You're quite deep in certain areas. So for example, in you being analytical and logical and all this stuff, you are quite like deep in that. But because you've done things like geography in the past, you're not what do you call it, extreme in that sense. You become nuanced as a result of some of the other experiences that you've had.
Yeah, because I do like abstract stuff as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
which is sometimes the opposite of the whole engineering.
And that's the thing. The great thing about all this, right, is the Prophet was the balance of absolutely all of these things. Like he had pure balance,
the middle ground in all of it.
The middle ground, absolutely everything, and that is where we need to strive to be. So, for example, but then us knowing where we currently plot ourselves, we understand. Okay, you know what? I'm very like you might be very logical. I might be very abstract. Okay, you know what? I need to become more like you. You need to become a lot more like me, and that's where success actually lies. Middle path.
Yeah,
and stuff. Yeah, and this is the thing. When you come to your vision, or you actually going off and doing your mission, you might come across, you think, okay, you know what, I've got a gap, I'm not good at this area. You might think, you know what, I need to get better at it, like I need to start doing sales calls, for example, or you know, I need to hire someone to fill that gap because I'm not good at it. That makes sense, because now the mission comes first. You need to find a way around it. You can't just not do it. Exactly.
Like one thing I like the last 6 months, I identified like I'm weak when it comes to, you know, like I guess you could say empathy. Okay. I'm weak on that. I'm just weak in this, you could say, emotional intelligence, right? So I started like reading books around that, you know, and just putting it, like, I wouldn't say a ton, but some effort into becoming better at that. Because why though? Because I could say, yeah, I'm just not good at that. I'm like so logical, and being logical is sick. But really, I felt like it was a detriment. Why? Because I see
You've
myself.
changed since that last episode, because I remember you talked about this last time actually.
It changed since last episode. Okay.
No. You've changed since last episode, because you said that empathy was an issue for me. I think you had some discussion with your wife or something, or
Okay.
And then anyway, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah. So why did I decide that I shouldn't leave this or delegate this? Like, I actually should become better at it, because the Prophet ﷺ was so empathetic, so empathetic, right? So I can't just say, yeah, I'm not going to be like that. Number two is, for my purpose, you could say, like, I see myself as a coach, and coaches must be empathetic, right? You can't not like connect with people emotionally and all of that. The other thing is, if I'm ever going to, I mean, I've already managed people, in business, but if I'm going to lead something, you need to have that emotional understanding of people in order to motivate them and lead them and give them that vision. So it's so fundamental. So that's why, like, ultimately I decided I need it.
So what's amazing is that in that sentence you just articulated, that is essentially what purpose does. So you are thinking purposefully. That's exactly what you're doing, because what you've realized is that this is what I need to achieve for my mission. As such, I need to do growth. I need to have. So I'm going to come across resilience. I need to become resilient in not fighting against it. And so you're going to tick that box. You need to, because to do your service better, you need to seek knowledge in the area that you're weak in, and you're doing it, and you're putting your people first. That's a later framework, by the way. I'm not going to go into that today, but again, you're putting them first because the mission comes first. So you're doing it. Basically, you've articulated exactly what it looks like when you're living purpose.
I see that.
So
Okay.
the thought process that you go through.
Okay, cool.
And nothing becomes impossible, because you're like, look, this needs to get done, and I'm going to do it, or I'm going to find a way to get it done. It's as simple as that.
It's like what you said about growth mindset is default.
Yeah.
Okay, are we on R now? Spark.
Yeah. So that was the R. So the K.
No, wait, did we do R?
Sorry? Oh, R was relish, remember?
Oh, relish, yes, yeah, okay. What you like, yeah.
So then K stands for knowledge.
Okay.
Right? So what specific knowledge have you gained? So this could be from your career, it could be from your hobby, and so maybe an experience that you've been through, right? So the story I find quite interesting here is the story of Robert Greene, the guy who wrote Mastery, 48 Laws of Power.
Yeah.
He had a very interesting career up until he wrote his first book, right? Basically, he was like a rich family, but dropped out of school at 16. He just had terrible jobs. He was like a dishwasher in a place. He was working at a restaurant as a waiter. He did all sorts of rubbish stuff. His family wrote him off. This guy's a complete flop. He had all the privileges and just achieved nothing. He was trying to make it as a writer on the side, kept getting rejected, etc. But because he was in these horrible jobs, what was happening was he came across he was basically writing stuff as you go, like a diary, almost like about survival in the workplace, and this boss is this, I've noticed this politics is going on, and this. And then what happened was, at the age of like 28 or 29, he went to Italy on holiday, and he was going into a lift in a hotel, and then the lift closed, and it went bust for a few hours, but he got stuck in the lift with the head of a publishing house.
Okay.
Right, and then after they got talking, because of that knowledge he'd experienced in his crappy jobs. That basically, the guy loved his idea. He goes, "Oh yeah, about politics and how people fight against each other. I love that. If you can get me a manuscript, I'm here until next week. Get me the manuscript together." He basically put all down, this and that, got it to him. Came with a book, 48 Laws of Power.
Oh, wow.
Interesting, isn't it?
Well, yeah, 48 Laws of Power. So did he have all that Machiavellian stuff and the stories from back in the day, hundreds of years?
That's the thing. A lot of this stuff he experienced. I mean, another example, it's another writer, but Roald Dahl, he didn't write his first book. I grew up with this guy's stories, right? But he didn't write his first book until mid-40s.
After the war, right? After he experienced the war?
Yeah, exactly. He had a plane crash, and after that he started. But what was interesting is that he had knowledge of writing because he had written a letter to his mom every single week since boarding school.
Mm.
And so she had actually collated all those letters. But the point of it is that these letters got increasingly more descriptive, and because then and also his job, he was an RAF pilot. He went around the world. He saw all these different things, and so on all his stories, for example, one of the sweet shops, I think in Giraffe Pelling Me, that was the sweet shop that he had in Tanzania. The Trunchbull was actually someone who's similar to what that he met on his. So the point of it is that everything, all that knowledge that he had,
yes,
then he found it in his book.
And this knowledge that you come across, it's like rizq from Allah as well. Like Allah provides you with this knowledge that you didn't specifically seek out, even.
Exactly. 100%. And that's why nothing is wasted. That's why everything has happened is meaningful. It's meaningful, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's the first half of it. Then there's actually a second part of it, which is I'll quickly go through that. So L stands for life story. So this is actually experiences that you've been through. So when you go back through your life, you will look at often there's some significant things that happen in your life that you don't really understand why it's happened, but it was for a reason. So to give you an example, that Sergey Brin, the Google founder, right? He obviously, he created Google. He had this Sergey Brin, sorry. Yeah, he created Google with this mission. I want to organize the world's information, make it universally accessible.
Yeah.
Right. But what happened was, but in his life, what happened was that he grew up obviously in Soviet Russia, and he was discriminated against obviously for being Jewish and stuff. And so what helped him out was he found the right piece of information at the right time about the US, and then that allowed him to basically, he did all the steps that the thing provided, allowed him to move there, and that changed his life. And so basically that whole thing of living in an authoritarian country, but getting to the right piece of information then made him, I want to dedicate my life to this mission. Basically, I want to get other people
so experience the value of information.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So the point of it is that, so how you do this is that you look at, like when I look at, there's certain years in your life that aren't really significant, but then there's certain years that you remember like yesterday, right? So for me, I think about 2011 when I went to South Africa and had a bit of transformative experience. 2016 I got married, so that was quite a change in my life. And so there's obviously different things that, and the ideas that you go through each year of your life. And sometimes might not be an experience, it might be people that you've come across. Again, because people come into your life for a reason as well, and then they come back out. So this is where you literally look at all the experiences that you've been through in your life, all the and you just mark out, okay, which one are sort of significant, and which one are, now that you're building this picture of yourself, which one are now finding alignment with some of this other stuff. Do you understand? Yeah. So that's that one. So then the next one's really interesting, which is which is intelligence. So this is the biggest. This is another lie we've been sold, right? So at school, we get taught English and humanities and stuff, or we get taught maths and sciences, right? So these are the two natures of the subject. So one is very linguistic, one's very logical, right? And so naturally what happens is that we come out of school, if you're good at these two things, then you come out excelling and you go down one of these two paths. And if you don't, you have to either work really, really hard at it, or you just become an average student, or you fail. But the issue with this is that it doesn't take into account the different types of intelligences that exist. There's actually 9 different intelligences out there. And so that's why some people, like, you look at some of these musicians, for example. Now, they're not good academically. They're probably not good numbers-wise. But literally, they could hear a note, and then they could do like amazing things with music, for example. There's some people who are like athletes, again, not good academically, but they can do things with their bodies that we would dream of, right? That's the type of intelligence. What is intelligence at the end of the day? We just think, oh, it's brains. It's not. So there's 9, and this is the thing. A lot of people, how you said earlier, I'm not good at maths, and stuff. Like, this is, so some people have come out of school thinking, oh God, like, I'm not academically intelligent, I'm not this, and then they end up just in mediocre jobs because they've just been, and the capitalist system needs that hierarchy. It needs it to work like that.
Yeah.
So the serfs can serve the middle class can serve the elites, etc. And so but the point is that what you might find is that one of those people might just be of different types of intelligence. So some people are, what do you call it, spatially intelligent. So these people are actually quite good at architects and things like that, because they're good at concepting plans and designs and shapes and stuff, right? Then you have obviously musical, which I mentioned. One is nature. So the natural being intelligent in nature is a type of thing. So these people are people good with their hands and greenery and stuff. You have existential, which is like philosophical and stuff. You have kinesthetic, bodily and stuff, coordinating your mind and your body. You have intrapersonal, which is understanding yourself and having that self-awareness. That's a type of intelligence. And then there's people who are interpersonal, who have people who have very, very good people skills.
Yeah.
And so you can see, examples. There's examples that you come across in life, that person's like so good with people. Their akhlaq, their relationships are amazing. It actually might be because they're naturally intelligent in that field. But and those kind of people in the past, they were like diplomats, or they were community, bringing people together. They had specific roles, and this is again because everything we're going against fitra and stuff to try and fit into this society where we should be fitra driven, right? And imagine if everyone could embrace who they really were in that sense.
I see that. Yeah.
So that's the intelligence, and then you can. But one thing I just want to say is that you can imagine if someone discovered, oh my god, all this time I was actually just I don't know,
nature
bodily, nature, and first of all, it could shape the route that you go down.
Yeah.
But secondly, all these stories you told you, all this mental trauma, all this stuff this baggage that you've had in your past, is all for nothing. Because it's just because the school system, didn't serve you. That's what it was. Yeah. Anyway, that's enough of that. Then T. So T is the deepest of all of them, which is temperaments. So temperament you could put into personality because it's similar, but what is with temperament? I want to do it separately because it's so deep. Because literally, this is what you're made up of. This is your nature. And so we talked about, again, I think we talked about it briefly last time. So you have sanguine,
yes,
you have choleric, melancholic, and you have phlegmatic. Right? Sanguine, and so what's interesting about each of these things is that they're all linked to basically this is how Allah's systems kind of work, because how the four temperaments were used in the past. It was used medically. So Ibn Sina, Hippocrates, and people like before, they used to use understanding people's body. Okay, this person is choleric, so this person's like dry, so we need to add wetness. This person's hot, we need to add coolness. Right? That's how they would do it. But what Imam Ghazali did is that he brought all this stuff together. He synthesized it with spirituality, with mind, and all this stuff, right? So it's amazing how it all comes together. Anyway, so what he did was he goes that with temperaments. So for example, sanguine, it's also linked to a season, right?
Yes,
or it's linked to an element. So sanguine is spring, and the element is air. Yeah, you have summer. No, sorry, not summer. Choleric, which is summer, and that's fire. And then you have melancholic, autumn, and that is earth. And then you have phlegmatic, which is winter, and water, right? And so even when you look at people in general, if I was to ask you, how do you describe someone who's, how do you describe air as a personality? You say, oh yeah, they're quite bubbly, they're quite airy-fairy, they're quite, away with the fairies and stuff. How do you sound someone who's like summer? Oh yeah, they're intense.
Yes, energetic.
How do you sound someone who's earth? Oh, they're quite like the salt, they're quite down to earth, or they're quite grounded, or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. How do you describe someone who's like water? Oh, they're a bit like passive, they're a bit wet, and a bit, whatever. So all this stuff is actually accurate. That's a sanguine person is full of air and stuff. And basically, it's because the spring is pleasant. It's a time of growth and generation, and those people are like inspiring and passionate, all this kind of stuff.
Yes.
The people who are choleric, they're like they're fiery, but they're leaders. They kind of get stuff done. They're like that. the melancholic, I think of autumn is a time of decline.
Mm-hmm.
So these guys are quite analytical, they're quite deep thinkers, they're very, what's the word, negative sometimes, quite negative.
Mm.
And then the people who are winter or water, phlegmatic, they are quite passive, they're quite quiet, they like, sleep a lot and stuff like that. So it's quite interesting how all this stuff kind of plays out. And what's interesting about this stuff, right, is that this stuff, it goes deeper. Like you know, when I just said some of the stuff, which is the seasons and stuff. But even if you look at like our ages, so like a child is naturally sanguine because they're full of, they're playful and joyful and stuff. And then the teenage becomes choleric. He's quite intense and fiery, and he's got too much energy and stuff. The adult is the melancholic. He's quite grounded and serious and stuff. And then the phlegmatic is the guy with low energy, so he's old age. You understand everything goes in these seasons. Same with the lunar month goes like that. And so all of this stuff is like really, really like interesting. And what's even more interesting with it is that there's usually a primary and a secondary. And so if you think about how this stuff works in reality, like you could, let's say, what do you get when you combine, I don't know, so earth with fire, you get like lava, right? You get that, or if you get a combined air and fire, you get fireworks. You get, if you can't. So the point is that even these combinations determine a type of person, who you are, if you want to go deeper into this. So my point is that all of this stuff, you start seeing so many patterns and trends across everything, and that you realize, it's stuff that you can't ignore. Like I'll give you an example. So when I did my one, not just for temperaments, for everything, I realized for the spirit stuff, I obviously like seeking knowledge is something that I like doing. But then I also mentioned I'm like Hazrat Ali, changing the world. For personality, I'm INFJ, which is the advocate. For abilities, it's like writing and producing content, and also like product development. For passion, for relish, so again, I enjoy reading, writing. I enjoy that kind of stuff. Again, same as you, like creating content and stuff. Type of like knowledge and experiences. So again, this is an interesting one where like I enjoy holistic learning. So I enjoy learning on lots of different things. But then when I come to life story, I looked at, actually my life, I did so many different things. I did law, I did procurement, I did data analysis, I did sales, I did all this different stuff. And then even business, I did all these type of businesses. So I'm like, why did God Allah put me through all this, this journey to this, like, why was I doing all this random stuff? But maybe it's because what I was seeking all this time, purpose. And that's what I was looking for. And when I've been on this roundabout journey and all this stuff, and then when I look at my intelligence is linguistics, my temperament is sanguine, and I enjoy that kind of the point of this stuff, and I'm now very clear about who I am, and that's why what I'm doing now is fully 100% on my purpose, because I've gone through this process very thoroughly.
You know what I was going to say about the whole 4 personality, the temperament, is I feel like the kind of global world culture, whatever today, it doesn't appreciate some of those types. And that's why people, like, everybody wants to be like spring or summer or whatever, right? Everyone wants to be that kind of, especially young people, everyone wants to be that vlogger personality, you know what I mean? Full of energy. Like, no one wants to be behind the camera or like editing. Like, no, that's not cool. That's not appreciated by today's world. And by doing that, obviously you have more and more people who are not like living their purpose, following their way.
And the problem actually what you get is, again, when you feel misaligned, you don't really do a good job. That's the first thing. You don't really do a good job because you're being someone you're not, and it's not naturally aligned to you. You might learn how to do it, but you're not going to be as good as someone who's in their element. All right, it's interesting that in their element, that's again linked to the temperaments. Secondly, again, everything's about balance, because with I think we mentioned this last time, with some of the temperaments, if you're sanguine, like it's linked to having certain virtues that you're predisposed to. So people are sanguine, they're naturally linked to justice. They're very justice oriented. But their weakness, for example, is wisdom. That's what melancholic is strong at. So I would say you're melancholic, and you're someone whose wisdom is your natural strength. That's why you actually enjoy learning knowledge and you go quite deep into what you learn. Whereas what they say about the sanguine is that they are top line with knowledge, which again, I'm that's why I'm quite holistic, because I don't go too deep. I go quite anyway. And that's why me and you, for example, you know how Muhammad always says, "Oh, we need a salesperson who's exactly like you two combined." Me and you're opposite. Me and you're opposites.
Yes.
I'm spring, you're autumn.
Do
you understand?
Yeah.
And so that's why even in relationships, in a marriage, for example, those relationships work quite well, because then there's balance for the child.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas imagine if there's someone, but if you're too extreme in your whatever you're good at or whatever you're strong in, it becomes overzealous. So like too much justice might become too much justice.
I mean, that's like literally like communist dictator, is that?
Exactly. And what's it called? And so same with you look at choleric and choleric and phlegmatic are opposites, fire and water. They're opposites to each other as well. So so that's why we need to learn how to utilize this stuff for ourselves as well. Like, there's people that the temperament is so deep that you can just understand this stuff and it can be enough for you. But but for the nature of understanding your purpose, it's, for me, that's why it's one of the elements. It's not everything.
Yeah. So these, what was it? Spark and then lit, L-I-T?
Yeah, spark lit. Yeah, because the idea is I need to light the spark.
Yes,
spark lit.
Okay. So that is 1/3 of the process. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. So this spark lit thing is like knowing yourself, but that's not enough.
Yeah, it's actually a quarter of the process, because the first quarter of it is to understand the macro, your overall purpose, which we've kind of covered a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
Then this part is understand yourself.
Yeah.
Then how do you now translate all this stuff into what your mission, your personal mission actually is? Something that you can monetize, something that you can actually, who are you actually serving? What kind of work are you doing? What's your labor and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's the third element of it, and then the fourth element of it is actually how do you now bring all this stuff to life? Like what's the roadmap towards it and stuff.
Yeah. So. Okay, sick. You did go deep, definitely. Let me see, Faisal, before we wrap up, if there's anything, because I asked some of the listeners if they had any questions around this area. I think you told me one time, like, being introvert versus extrovert. Was it you who said it's like not 100%?
What do you mean?
Like, it's not even a legit categorization.
What you mean in the Myers-Briggs thing?
No, not in Myers-Briggs, like just in general. Like it's debated whether you can even say like these people are introverted, these people are extroverted, and those people act that way. And
no, I mean, look, a lot of this stuff is, remember, we don't want to strive for perfection in each of these areas. A lot of this stuff is what natural trend. I give you an example I come across as introverted, but you've seen when we're together. And we're on long journeys. Muhammad is like sleeping in the back, and I'm the one full of life and energy and speaking into it. That means because I'm getting energy from the conversation, from like being in the group. So that would suggest I'm extroverted. That makes sense. But when you go into some of these things deeper, you can look at percentage levels, and I realized when I looked at my percent, I'm like 54-46. I'm right. I'm quite balanced in that.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm like So that's why. But some people are very like they're highly extroverted or highly introverted. So that's where that.
Okay. Yeah. Someone was saying, I feel there's something about personality tests, like you can prophesize or adapt your answer, especially if you're indecisive, so that you get a different result each time. Or that you have different sides to you depending on who you engage with. So you don't know which side to describe when you're doing the test.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of this stuff is about being authentic. And the way of being authentic literally is the first one that comes to mind. Don't overthink it. When you overthink something, you're gonna then disobey all this question.
You go to your like logic brain instead of your intuition, instinct. Kind of instinct.
Exactly. And that's the point. Yeah, let that guide the way. And with a lot of this stuff, that's what will happen. Like that's what you need to bring out, because some of the people who are filling out the worksheets and they're going quite deep into it, sometimes they're like, oh no, I don't know what to try, or I know, because again maybe our privacy issues might come into play, or oh no, I don't want to like articulate it. But again, it's for your own eyes only. Remember that part of the discovery process is to just be authentic and just let whatever comes out. And sometimes, again, everything's purposeful. Nothing's wasted. Nothing's meaningless. So if it comes out, maybe it's just come out for a reason, and you can discard it. Like especially when it comes to experiences, like sometimes you go into painful experiences, and or this, for example, especially when you ask a question in a certain way. For example, there might be someone who I asked a question about, people that you've worked with, or people who were in your life as a child or in teenagers. There's certain milestones in your life where things are meaningful, basically, that you can remember.
Yes.
And there's certain heroes that you had, etc. So it's all linked, basically.
Yeah, to be honest, you can do tests like 2-3 times as well, and I think like with myself, I do find that they're always the same result, right?
Yeah.
And also when like all these different frameworks we've been through, how do we say it? Like you were saying, the temperaments are linked to other areas, right? Linked to seasons, linked to this, linked to that. I think I keep finding more and more that there are personality types that are linked in different kind of domains of life, right? It's like, and they all have pros and cons, right? So the emotional one might be more sensitive, but then they also can be better leaders because they motivate people because they have emotion, right? And the logical one, they have the strength of not being affected. They're not so sensitive, but then also it means they can't motivate people. They can't influence people sometimes. So there's always the pros and cons in all these areas. And you find like people grouping together and all having similar things. Like you said, like musicians, often you find musicians, they're a bit nuts, right? But that being a bit nuts, whatever that means, being a bit nuts, it comes with the domain, with the bundle of being creative.
Yeah, and just for a nice circuitry, we started off talking about mental health and all this kind of stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Often, obviously, mental health happens through, in terms of trauma that you've been through or experiences that you've been through, but it always has roots somewhere, right? And even like something like the temperament that you are, you're again predisposed towards a certain type of falling into this type of like mental block, for example. So I'll give you an example to get that the root of all sort of these mental issues, if like it either comes from obsession, from fear, from anger, or from depression, right, or sadness, right? So sadness, anger, fear, or obsession, right? So when you look at it from a temperament perspective, again, I can tell you straight, right? So the sanguine, the spring person, they're naturally disposed to obsession because again, their nature is that they like luxury and they like they are very they just get upset. They get obsessive about things. Basically, that's what they can fall into, addiction and things like that. That kind of it could with the choleric. They again the intense one. So anger could be the root often of their issues because of that's how their nature is. With the melancholic, they're negative people. They can be negative. So depression or sadness, they're intense sadness, and they're feeling sorry for themselves. That's often the root of this. And the other one, which is fear, is the phlegmatic. Phlegmatic is the passive one, the very passive and quite calm, chilled out one. Well, they often get the fear affects them. That makes sense. So again, when you're understanding someone, when you go deep into understanding yourself, you're realizing that, oh, actually, I'm prone to this kind of behavior.
Yes.
And then you need to then balance it the other way, basically.
Wow,
so this stuff does go quite deep. So,
oh, cool, man. Thanks for sharing all this. So if obviously you help people with this, right? And you've taken us through some of the process. So is there a link we can put in the description if people want to talk to you
if you
about
just
it?
want to book a call, I'm happy to have a chat with anyone who wants to discover their purpose.
Is there an easy link, or I just put it in the description?
It's put in the description.
Yeah, okay. So it'll be on YouTube or in the podcast audio place if you want to go there. Anything else to wrap up with?
No, I just enjoyed it.
Yeah, same. Cool. Yeah, as usual, we have the links, normal links as well, mindheistpodcast.com. Go there if you want to contact us in any way. And also, we have a Telegram group or channel now. So the link for that is also in the description. And yeah, well, we'll leave it there.
Last thing I did want to say, actually,
Yeah, go on.
is what is the purpose of mayonnaise?
Is this serious?
Yeah.
Okay. The purpose of mayonnaise is to make salads fill you.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's actually official purpose. So they
Really? Okay.
Basically in 1913, Hellman's created mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Basically, because they wanted to make leftover food tasty, or to reuse leftover food, basically, because it was going people throwing away. So what's interesting is that like nothing is created without purpose. Even like something as mayonnaise, you know what I mean? Like we don't even think about it. But when we're creating a product, when we're creating anything, you're always going to consider, you know, what is the what's the purpose of it, you know, and yeah, and so it's like, but the nature of it, like, you know how you said that you're a architect, you could be, because you plan everything out. Some people are not architects. What are they called when like Indiana Jones types? What are they called?
Adventurers or
archaeologists?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what an architect type is that they need to plan everything beforehand, and they want to, whereas an archaeologist figures it out afterwards. That makes sense. So it's just interesting. Like, even like the way you are, it just affects your approach to things as well.
Yeah. Crazy. Okay, bro. Enjoyed this. Jazakallah khair. And yeah, subhanakallahumma bihamdik, shadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.